We drove 8 hours to the newest Micro Center to pick up the Microsoft Surface Pro 11.
And today's video is sponsored by Micro Center to showcase their new Charlotte location. We're gonna be doing 2 videos here, and the first video we're gonna be doing is to showcase the new Surface Pro 11 from Microsoft with the new Snapdragon ARM processor that is gonna change the laptop industry. And we just wanted to show you guys real quick what this Micro Center looks like because they went really high tech with this one, and honestly, it's a tech lover's dream. So obviously we're here at Micro Center to take a look at the new Surface Pro 11, and we'll be taking it back to office to test it, but we gotta show you guys all the awesome stuff that is available at this Charlotte location. As you can see, we're in the laptop and desktop section, and there's just a ton to choose from.
Yeah, there is no shortage of systems here. We got laptops of the plenty. We got all these honestly pretty nice looking custom builds as well.
So many different devices to choose from, and in another video on the channel, we're gonna be doing our budget build showdown, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna actually build some gaming PCs and show you guys that side of this new Micro Center store as well. But again, big shout out again to Micro Center for sponsoring this video. They're gonna be running some awesome deals at their new Charlotte location using the coupon codes and links down below. And yeah, we're just not gonna waste more time and show you guys the Surface Pro 11 here in store. And we're gonna get that top of the line model to take back to the office.
So this right here is the base model Microsoft Surface Pro 11, and as you can see, this is already pretty nice for what I would consider a pretty low price tag for a high-end Surface laptop. But what I love is that we're not going to be getting this one. We're going to be getting the top of the line model that is $2,100.
And with that model comes the 12-core Snapdragon X Elite processor, 32 gigs of DDR5 memory, and all in all, a really awesome device that is gonna change the laptop industry with those ARM processors. And in this video, we're gonna be taking it back to our office and have all our staff members give it a go after we unbox it and get familiar with the device. This video is gonna be much more creative focused with a little bit of gaming sprinkled in here and there, but I'm really excited to see how this performs if you wanna consider a new laptop.
So now that we're back from the new Micro Center location, we have to open up this Microsoft Surface Pro and see what it's all about.
Now, the big reason we're taking a look at this laptop is because of the new Snapdragon X processor, specifically the Snapdragon X Elite, which is a 12-core processor. And with these new CPUs, they compare very nicely to the Apple M1, M2, and M3 chips that really have taken the business and work world by storm because of their awesome battery life and just being all around awesome performing laptops using ARM processors. So let's go ahead and open this thing up and take a look because we have not looked at Surface laptops here on the channel. Is it a laptop or is it a tablet, guys? You tell me. I think it's more of a tablet with a keyboard.
Yeah, this is definitely, this is weird because really the newest Surfaces that we've had here are old. We normally will get them from time to time for our shop, and I've always really liked having them. I love the whole tablet portability, but the optional keyboard, which we do have here. We have the keyboard, we have the slim stylus, and then of course we have the actual Surface here. It does come with an integrated stand, which I've always appreciated for the Surfaces.
But in terms of all the other accessories in the box, we have a power adapter, which Jackson will like this. Look at the wattage of this power adapter.
What, 30? That's a weird watt.
39
but that's really
watts. That is really low power, which makes me wonder. So it is used like a magnetic, almost MagSafe style connector for charging. So that's really cool to see. But yeah, 39 watts. You should be able to charge this thing a wide range of different ways as well, because that's not a lot of watts to go through a power adapter. So it just goes in like that.
Satisfying. Yeah, and you should be able to put it in either way too, which is kind of nice.
Now we do have to touch on some of the new features that Windows 11 is pushing out to showcase this laptop. Microsoft and Snapdragon are trying to work together to make a more, let's say, longer battery life and AI-focused laptop. Now, yes, we're not gonna touch too much on the AI stuff that's going on with these laptops because we're not experts in that field, but it's really cool to see ARM processors that are gonna get a compatibility layer support in Windows to where you get the similar situation to Mac OS with the M1, M2, and M3 chips to where everything will run very nice and efficiently, and potentially a new future of laptops here with this ARM processor. Again, with that new CPU, the Snapdragon X Elite processor, 12-core processor, we have 32 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, we have a 1 terabyte Gen 4 SSD. For the display, we have a 13-inch OLED display with a resolution of 2880 by 1920, which will work really nicely with that stylus. And we'll be doing some more workstation-focused benchmarks in today's video. We're actually gonna have the guy behind the camera right now who's taking over, Zach, do a Toasty Bros thumbnail on this laptop. And also, we're gonna have McAllister do some video editing as well. And by doing those tests, we're gonna be able to show you guys what this thing is capable of in the creative space, which I think this is gonna be a really good device for that.
And one of the things that I will confirm, maybe, is that I think this thing actually charges wirelessly and it's magnetic. So look at that, you just pop it on, you don't have to worry about actually plugging it in, which is super cool.
So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get inside Windows here, and then we're gonna install some creative applications. Once again, I did mention that we are gonna be using a lot of apps that are ARM applications, but also we're gonna be using the compatibility layer that is built into the new Windows 11 version that allow us to run non-ARM applications using that compatibility layer to use the Snapdragon CPU. And there are gonna be new apps that will come out to the market that are ARM-based to make this a lot easier. But right now, since it's so early days with the Snapdragon CPU in Windows, we're really gonna have to be testing that compatibility layer to see how well it performs.
And now one thing, guys, I know we said we're all about gaming here, we're not gonna be gaming, but we're gonna test some games.
Oh yeah, we're gonna test some games.
We have to.
We have to test at least some games. Don't quote us on how well it's actually gonna run, because it might be great, it might be bad, depending on the game and how well it works. Some of these games that are ported over to Linux actually already have this ARM compatibility support baked in, so they might run better, but we may have some hit or miss issues with like anti-cheats and things like that. All right guys, so we're looking in on the laptop here. Jackson noticed something, it looks super smooth. This might actually be a high refresh rate display, 120 hertz.
120 hertz, let's go. This is gaming. Yeah, so here's that refresh rate. So 120 hertz at 2880 by 1920. And obviously you can change the refresh rate from 30 to 120 based on your battery life if you want to save some battery, because that's what they preach on this thing. They're like, you can get 16 hours out of this bad boy.
So yeah, a lot of battery time with this thing. And there's that Snapdragon Elite processor, 12 core, 12 thread.
All right, 32 gigs of, is that real, chat?
8,004. Honestly, I think that's probably Windows reporting it wrong, because they are going through a change where they're changing the reporting of speeds, but there's that. I think it's only 6,000 is what it says.
And it's interesting, so we have 32, but because this is an APU of sorts, we have 26 available. So they actually reserved a lot of it for this, they call it an NPU, which is kind of cool. All right, so let's see, we have a 1 terabyte Samsung, I assume it's a Gen 4, NVMe SSD. Here's our Snapdragon NPU.
So the NPU is actually a specific GPU and processing unit designed for AI tasks and acceleration. So now these Snapdragon processors come with the GPU and the NPU. The NPU will help you with things in Copilot Plus, which are all the AI stuff that is built into Windows 11. So if you want to dive into that, you have the NPU for that, and that's definitely a focus that Microsoft is working on going forward. But yeah, we are really focused in that GPU department and the CPU, see how well this works in other applications. And I think that NPU, maybe it won't work with the compatibility layer, but once there is native ARM support for things like Photoshop and a Premiere Pro, the AI applications in Premiere Pro might be accelerated by that NPU, which would be really cool. Now, I know Zach is very interested to see how that stylus will work in Photoshop.
Man, it's like really accurate too. Like I got my palm resting on the actual screen and it's perfect. Now, of course, this is a tablet of sorts, so you're probably thinking this thing probably has no ports. Well, it has some. So starting at the bottom, we just have these two guys right here, which are really just to be able to connect the keyboard, which, you know, pretty useful. Now on the side, we have our charging port, which we showed you guys earlier. It's kind of like the MagSafe style one that's magnetically held in. The top, we just have the power button and then a volume up and down. And then on the left-hand side, we actually get two USB Type-C 4 ports, so that is pretty cool. So you could actually have a expansion dock where you could have normal USB, SD card reader, the kind of things that we would need as creators to be able to upload our footage. And that basically wraps up all of the ports.
This is a crazy webcam, actually. Gosh, dude, that is a smooth logo. So welcome to our vlog. This is a webcam test on the Surface Pro 11. Zach, all right, you wanna join my vlog? All right, there we go.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, brother. Welcome. This is pretty sharp.
Pretty sharp. To make this shot, you gotta do drop test.
Drop test. Hopefully that sounds good, and hopefully my hand is not over any of the microphones. It's definitely not its intended purpose. So I was vlogging with the front camera, and I realized there's a back camera. So, hello. I don't know. We're recording it right now. Does it look any different, guys?
I don't know. I can't see it.
Yeah. Ooh, wait a minute. Ooh, sheesh. I don't know who would use this as like a camera, but I will say it's not bad.
You guys smell McAllister through it?
Look at that. We're gonna load up some creative applications, have Zach take it for a spin to make a Toasty Bros thumbnail, have McAllister do a video edit, then I'm gonna mess around with it and compare it to my daily driver, which is an M1 MacBook. A little bit older, this will definitely run circles around in terms of performance, but in terms of the battery life and everything else, like compatibility and stuff that I really like my M1 for, I really wanna see how this compares and give you all a little comparison from a daily Apple user when using this in Windows. But yeah, this is a cool device and a little bit of a different Toasty Bros video, so let's go ahead and get stuff loaded up. All right, guys, so we're getting ready to bring Zach and McAllister McAllister in here to use this setup, but I want to go ahead and show you guys what the setup's going to look like to test the Surface Pro 11 in content creation tasks. So as you can see right here, we have the Surface Pro 11. We're using this USB-C dock from Ugreen, which allows us to plug in a mouse and our Ethernet, so we have the fastest possible connection. This does have Wi-Fi 7, but in the area that we are in, Wi-Fi does not work very well in this room. It's just absolutely blocked in here. So we are running Ethernet. We're currently running off the battery. We'll plug it up to power as well because we want to simulate this being, yes, a portable laptop, but also take it at home, plug it up to your desktop setup and be able to do some real work on it. So we will plug this up and have it run off of the charge. And then we have another monitor, this portable monitor, this KYY, very basic portable monitor. It's just 1080p. We have it plugged up using a USB-C to C cable into that other USB 4 port that allows us to get another, well, while be a basic monitor, it is a 1080p monitor, but this would be a good setup for those on the go who want to take both of these and have like a little coffee setup with the dual monitor setup. Now, one thing I do have to mention is we did say that McAllister was gonna be doing video editing on this device. He still will be doing it, but one thing we did not know going into this is Adobe has started blocking the non-native ARM apps in their Creative Cloud suite, so Premiere Pro being one of them, and we do use Premiere Pro primarily for video editing, but DaVinci Resolve has an ARM-based app that we did install and we should be good to go there. But Adobe has committed to basically updating all their apps to have an ARM-based version, so it'll work perfectly in Windows 11 with the Snapdragon processor. So in the future, that'll be good. If you're primarily a Premiere Pro editor and you're wanting to get a good laptop, I'd probably hold off until those ARM apps do come out because you never really know how long it's gonna take. But Photoshop is natively supported. There is an ARM-based version of Photoshop, which we will be using for Zach to do the thumbnail, but we will be having McAllister use DaVinci Resolve. So it won't be a one-to-one comparison of what he normally uses, but he has done DaVinci Resolve edits before, so he will be able to at least start a video and show you guys what that process is like. So let's go ahead and get them in and have them mess with these devices.
So first off, I just want to start by saying that the monitor with this Surface is absolutely amazing. It's super color accurate and I like the refresh rate. Everything about it so far has been perfect for Photoshop. The color accuracy is huge because one thing that you want to keep in mind is that every single monitor that displays an image is going to display it slightly different depending on what panel it is. So having something extremely color accurate makes it easy to get the most consistent image across all monitor types. The next thing I want to talk about is just how Photoshop ran on this thing. So first of all, Photoshop, anybody who uses Creative Cloud or Adobe products know that they have their quirks. They're not the best, they're not amazing, but Photoshop actually ran well. It didn't have any stutters or any big like glaring flaws. They did have some of the typical Photoshop bugs. For example, I have one where all of my keybinds kind of stop working. It acts like shift is being held down when it's not. That happens on my main PC and it happened on this too, so it's just a Photoshop thing. But as far as layer selection, actually using it, the render times, everything ran pretty well. The next thing I want to get into is that, you know, my use case for Photoshop is thumbnails and a lot of traditional poster design, graphic design, that sort of stuff. So having a pen is helpful, but it's not the end all be all like perfect way of doing workflow. If you're someone who's doing a lot of art and drawing, it would be amazing for that. But as far as thumbnails go, I don't really use a pen too much in my daily workflow. I definitely think you can cater doing thumbnails to using a pen and like centralize your workflow around that. But for me, I'm used to using keyboard and mouse, so it's more of like a accent. It just kind of supports that sort of workflow. I was able to get this thumbnail done. It only took me about, you know, maybe 10 minutes more than a traditional thumbnail would take me. Overall, it's a great experience. I love using the Surface. It was amazing to see how using a pen or stylus could speed up my workflow and how using it, there's some new techniques that I could pick up and learn. I think if you're someone who draws a lot more, has a workflow that could definitely make use of it more than, you know, thumbnail design, then it's an amazing purchase. And it's something that you could definitely make work for other styles, but it would definitely take some tweaking. There's some aftermarket peripherals like a Bluetooth keyboard, things like that.
So this is my thoughts on using the Surface 11 for video editing. I usually work on this setup here where I've kind of crafted things over years of time. So know that this is going to be a big jump going from 4 monitors, a very particular mouse and keyboard. The scroll wheel in particular is something that I'm really proud of. That non-friction one was one of the best changes I made to my editing setup. And I could bring that over to this new setup, but I'm going to be working a program I'm not familiar with, DaVinci Resolve. That being said, moving over, I'm going to talk about more about the ambitions I'd have with the Surface and what I think it'd be useful for, and some of the things I noticed in my small amount of editing on it, considering that it's not my original program. So when I selected the actual playback resolution, I picked a higher one than just HD. I did this because I was curious if the Surface 11 could handle it, and it did. I was surprised at how well it played back the footage, and in reality, a world where I'm truly editing and doing stuff, I would lower this playback resolution to 1/4 to half. So some of these issues that I had may not be present inside of one when you're running on just normal HD or lower. For instance, when I would add the video transitions, I would get a good amount of lag, but once it got past that, it would normally smooth out. And I think in most people's, workflow, you're going to add these things last. You're going to watch through the video, do your rough cut, then go back and add these things. You're not going to be rewatching those sections after you've added that. You're going to be mostly, setting it up and leaving it to lie. But the thing I'd be most interested in with this surface is using it in a stylus-oriented editing workflow. I think that's a really cool thing. I've seen people do it, and I think that if you're able to separate the keyboard and the computer, have the keyboard like in your left hand and have your hand down on the actual computer itself, being able to drag and drop things with the modifier button on the stylus. I don't know if that can be set or customized further for macros. If I could hold control and tap it, or shift and tap it, or control alt tap it, I could get about 8 different modifiers out of that. And in an editing software, that could be about all I need for most of my things, considering my hand is also on the keyboard for other functions I might need to call. I think with that in mind, you could really get a lot out of the Surface 11. It has a lot of functionality and has good playback. So I think if you were looking to do some more on-the-go editing, it would do great.
So as you guys could probably guess, I was pretty excited to game on the Microsoft Surface. I love gaming on everything. I mean, that was my idea to do the whole Raspberry Pi video, so I like pushing things to their absolute limits. And honestly, the actual screen itself looks so amazing. The OLED that's able to display basically all colors true to themselves is really nice. It looks really good in games, but of course, that ARM CPU does have a little bit of trouble since it's having to do all the work of a CPU and a GPU to keep up in some of those esports titles. I wouldn't even bother trying AAAs on this unless you can find some crazy way to run it at like 480p. But the long story short is it will play certain esports titles and indie titles if you're willing to lower some settings. So games like Balloon Tower Defense, maybe League of Legends, Killing Floor, older titles especially, maybe even games like Team Fortress 2, you could definitely get away with playing. But of course, anything newer that is kind of demanding is going to struggle on this tablet/laptop. So once again, you're not buying this in order to game primarily. You're buying this with the intent that if there's some really light games you want to play on the side, you can totally do that.
So what about my take on the Surface Pro 11? I use the Surface Pro 11 as my daily driver device for a day to give it a little bit of a run to see how it compares to the laptop that I use on the regular, my Apple M1 MacBook Pro, which I have absolutely loved, mainly because of its battery life. The battery life is the biggest thing here, and its convenience for being able to just throw it in my backpack and not have to worry about charging it every single day. Same goes for this Surface Pro 11. Battery life, very good. I ended up charging up to 100%, throwing it into my backpack. Very next day after using it, pulled it out and it had a really good charge still. Having that instant access to a laptop is really cool, and it's cool to see that happening in Windows, because older Windows laptops really had a problem draining their battery when in sleep mode and not really getting the awesome battery performance that Apple has really offered recently with macOS and their M1 chips. It's not perfect yet, but it is getting better. And in terms of applications that I ran on this device, one of them being Parsec, a program that allows you to remote control into a PC or any device really that support Parsec. There's not a native ARM supported app yet, but it was able to launch using the compatibility layer. It was a little bit laggy, not super smooth, but I was still able to connect to a host and do whatever I wanted to do on there. Normally I like to remote into my PC here at the office to review videos through Premiere Pro so I get access to our network NAS, and I had no problems doing that. It was able to play back, albeit a little bit choppy, not super smooth, but it gives me hope that with an ARM-based version of something like Parsec or any other app that I do use on the regular, it will make this device really good. There's just going to be a bit of an adjustment curve to see when that's all going to happen. So if I'm somebody who's on the fence about buying a new laptop, I would definitely consider this new Surface Pro 11 and also all the other Surface laptops that are on the market now, or any laptop in general with the Snapdragon X Elite processor. And you can check those out at Micro Center, by the way. There's a lot of options now with the Snapdragon processor, which is really turning the ARM ecosystem into something really powerful on Windows, and it's about dang time that it actually happens. So now we've gone over all the experiences we have had with this laptop and the Snapdragon Elite processor. Let's go ahead and bring Jackson back in here and we'll just wrap up this video and talk about our final thoughts about this laptop and how you can get it at Micro Center.
I really did actually enjoy this because I was worried at first going into it that not only was it not going to be a game, but I was worried that it was maybe a little overpriced. But when you compare these to the older gen Surfaces that were 3,000 plus with i7s, this having a 16-hour plus battery life with that new Snapdragon processor is actually pretty good. And the fact that I was able to play some games was a win for me.
It's really cool to see that there's going to be more options in this high battery life but yet high performing laptop space that really is also for people on the go and creatives who want to create things in, let's say, video editing in DaVinci Resolve or Photoshop or other creative applications that will have native ARM support very soon. So big shout out again to Micro Center for sponsoring today's video. If you want to buy one of these Surface laptops at the new Charlotte location that we just got back from, definitely check the links down below and let me know what you think of the Surface Pro 11 and the Snapdragon X Elite processor. Will you be picking up one of these ARM processors soon?
And as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out our other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.
And if you guys are following us on social medias, we have literally everyone you could think of. You could have gotten some sneak peeks at this and also some sneak peeks at us at Micro Center.
Check out our social media links in the description down below. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, X, if you want to call Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, we got them down below. Go follow them today. Don't miss out on other Toasty Bros content. See you guys later. Goodbye.